Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name's Gemma and I had VSG, or vertical sleeve gastrectomy surgery, just over a week ago, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience. So hopefully you find it interesting and useful. If you do, if you could drop me a like and subscribe, that would be great. So I'm just going to get straight into it. That's how I like to do things. So we travelled down to London, which is where I had my operation the night before. So my operation was last Wednesday, and we travelled down to London on the Tuesday. Um, it was it was quite a drive. It was about 2.5 hours. So didn't want to risk it when my admission time was 7 a.m. on the Wednesday. So there was no way I was going to be getting up that early and risking a 2.5 hour journey going wrong. So we got down the night before and settled. Um, we got down there in the evening time, so just chilled, watched some TV. There were no special preparations to do the evening before, um, but I did have a shower and I washed my hair because I wanted to go into the hospital with clean hair. So at least one part of me felt normal. And then I had my final meal. So my final meal was actually Nando's. Now, don't worry, I know what you're thinking. Like, what the hell are you eating a Nando's for the night before your surgery? I just ordered lemon and herb chicken and some broccoli and some salad. So it met my requirements, the 800 calorie requirements. So that was all good. And God, for some reason, it was like the best chicken I'd ever had in my entire life. um, so I had my final meal and we went to bed that night after watching some TV. Now, I woke up early Wednesday morning, and again, there's no special prep. I know in America they give you this soap and you have to have a shower the night before and the morning of the surgery with this special sort of antibacterial soap. We don't have, at least tonic is not part of their procedures. But I didn't want to go into hospital feeling like a total grub, so I had another shower. And actually, I managed to flood the bathroom. So I was hoping that was not a bad omen, but yeah, I flooded the bathroom. So had my shower, got my bits ready, and packed my hospital bag. So in my hospital bag, I put some pajamas, some slippers, some underwear, socks. Uh, I didn't take a change of clothes because I knew they were going to get me into a gown as soon as I got there. So I was just planning to wear what I wore into hospital out again. And I also packed a toothbrush, toothpaste, and a heat pad because I thought if I wake up in pain or I wake up with a lot of gas, I might be glad to put that heat pad on. And my phone and phone charger. So that's probably the lightest I've packed in my entire life. I never packed that light. So we went into hospital, and when we got there, we were greeted in reception. There was another lady who arrived at the same time as me, so she must have had the same admission time. I'd already done my paperwork at the pre-op assessment, so I didn't need to fill anything else in. And the nurse came and got both of us and took us up. Now, she took the other lady off to what would be her private room, and took me in to do some uh, basic obs. So she took me into this room and she did my blood pressure, and she was like, "Oh gosh, are you nervous? Your pulse is very high." I was like, "Well, yeah, of course I'm nervous." She was like, "Right, I'm not going to write it down. Not going to write it down just yet. I'm going to come back and do it again when you're a bit calmer." And I thought, well, that's not going to happen, so you may as well write it down. But she went off, and she went off and came back, and she brought two gowns. So one gown to put my arms through the front and wear on the front, and a second gown that to wear like a cape at the back. So I put that on. So you're like double sleeved, but you've got a front flap and a back flap. I was kind of hoping. I saw in a lot of other people's videos that they had just a really big gown, and that looked way more comfortable. The ones I had weren't really comfortable at all, but I suppose for surgery wise, they make a lot more sense because you can just lift the front flap up to get to where you need to get to if you're the surgeon. She brought me a head. Oh, what do you call them? A hairnet, like a hairnet. So I put my hair up in a ponytail and I put the hairnet on. And then, oh God, she brought me some paper pants. I was not expecting that. And I'd put my nice underwear in, I've packed it nice as well, and I thought, right, I'm ready to go. And then she brings these paper pants in, and I thought, oh no. And some compression socks that they want you to change into. So she basically took my arms, and then I got changed into the gown, the hairnet, the paper pants, and the socks. She retook my blood pressure. Obviously, it hadn't gone down because at this point I'm stressing about these paper pants and the fact that I'm in these surgery gowns ready for surgery. But we went out of that room and I passed the other lady in the hallway and we were kind of like, oh, how sexy are we? Having a joke with each other. And then she took me to my room. Now, the room had 2 beds in it, which immediately made me think, oh no, because I was under the impression it was going to be a private room. And as soon as I saw the 2 beds, I thought, I really don't want to be sharing with someone because if I'm in pain when I come round and I want to just plod around during the night, I don't want to disturb anyone. But it turns out that no one else was coming into that room. It was a private room, and actually, my wife later on had a bit of a nap on that bed. So we were shown to the private room, and I was in my gown, and at that point, I just thought, I'm going to put the TV on because if I'm just going to sit here and fret. And I was not as nervous as I thought I was going to be, but I don't know if that was just denial, because obviously my blood pressure and my pulse are telling me that I'm nervous, but internally I felt as like pretty chill. I don't know. So I put Hell's Kitchen on anyway, and had Gordon Ramsay shouting at some poor unsuspecting restaurant owner, and just had that on in the background. Just I find having the TV on in the background quite comforting. And then my surgeon came in to meet me. That was the first time we'd met face to face. We'd spoken over the phone before, and just quickly go over what the procedure is. Now they'll ask you 50,000 times. You know you're here for the gastric sleeve. You're here for the gastric sleeve, blah blah. And I think it's just so they can't get sued, because the last thing they want is to accidentally whip someone's stomach out, and it turns out that they were there for like a nose job. So yeah, he was just checking with me that I knew about the procedures, asked if I had any questions. But if we're honest, by the time we're in the hospital, we've spent all of our time hyper researching everything anyway, so we pretty much know what's happening by then. But it was nice to meet him. I found it really comforting, to put a face to his voice, and he was really calming. And I think a lot of the surgeons, most of the surgeons I've seen in people's videos, they've put people's minds at rest and just been really chill. And then my anaesthetist came in, and I loved her. She came in and she had this really funky surgical hat on. I was like, that hat is awesome. And she just explained how the anaesthetic would work, and I wasn't really taking it in, to be honest. A lot of the morning is just a complete blur to me, and I don't know if that's because of the drugs and anesthesia that came later. It's kind of like scrambled things for me. But I think as well, everything happened really fast for me. I Before I went, I was saying to everyone, I really want to be first up. If I've got something scary to do, I want to be the first one to do it and get it out of the way. If we're at like an assault course and I'm going to jump off a platform or something, I want to go. I want to get it done. So when the surgeon came, I was like, yeah. So when am I actually up? And then he said I was first in, and I was like, yes. So I was first up. So I really didn't have much time to think about anything because my admission time was 7 a.m. Um, I was faffing around getting changed. I had the surgeon come, I had the anaesthetist come, and I think I was um, led to theatre around maybe 20 past 8 or something like that. So it was really quick. So a couple of nurses came in just to check I was okay, and then a nurse came to fetch me to take me down to theatre. Um, I that you just walk there yourself. You're not. I thought maybe they'd put me on a bed and wheel me through or whatever, but no. So it's really bizarre. You just I had my slip. I was like, can I bring my slippers? And they were like, yeah, we'll just take them back to your room later. So I put my slippers on, and we walked to theatre, and the nurse dropped me off there. And I saw a different nurse, and that nurse. Now this is where things get really blurry for me. So there was one room, and it was attached to the theatre, so I could see round the corner to the theatre, and I could see my surgeon and the anaesthetist and everything doing the prep. And I can't remember at all what happened in that second room. I think we were just saying hello to each other, basically, in introductions. You're here for the gastric sleeve again. And then they take me through and they say, hop up on the table. So I hop up on the table. I'm laying on the table, and the surgeon and the assistant surgeon team, they're off in the background somewhere doing some prep with their tools and whatnot. So immediately I've got my the nurse on the right and the anaesthetist to my left, and they I'm laying down, and the nurse explains, we're going to give you some oxygen. The anaesthetist says, I'm going to give you a little something something. And I'm laying down, and I think to myself, something's not right here. These lights, because there were so many surgical lights above me, these lights are spinning. And then just after I thought that, my anaesthetist said, I've just given you a chill pill. I said, oh, thank God, because I thought these lights are spinning and that's not normal. But they reassured me everything was good. So she gave me whatever drug was the chill pill. And then the nurse put my oxygen on and said, we just need to give you some oxygen for a bit. And that is all I remember. I don't remember them saying, we're going to give you an injection. I don't remember them getting me to count down backwards. A lot of people remember, they start at 10 and they get to 7 and they're like conked out. I don't remember a thing. I just remember her saying, I'm going to give you a chill pill, seeing the lights spin, and I was gone. so I mean, it's probably for the best. I don't remember a lot about recovery at all. So I'm assume that I have two little snippets of memory, and they involve a nurse that I think was at my pre-op assessment called Cora, who is a lovely lady, by the way. And I kind of remember saying, Cora, and her saying to somebody else, oh, she must remember me from the pre-op assessment. And I'm sure we hugged. That I can remember that. So she like leaned in and we hugged. I don't know why. I must have just been feeling lovey-dovey. And then I think we might have talked about fit notes, but honestly, there was no point talking about that because I had no idea what was going on. So yeah, I don't remember anything about recovery other than two little snippets. And then I kind of remember being wheeled back to my room. I remember the sensation of being wheeled, and I remember the sounds of the doors opening and closing as my bed was put in, and they sort of, I don't know, like parked my bed. And that's all I remember. And then I think I drifted in and out for a bit, but at this point, I had no pain at all. Um, at this hospital anyway, the relatives aren't allowed to stay in the hospital whilst you have your operation. It's a very small hospital. So as soon as I was sent down to surgery, they sent my wife out and said she should come back in a couple of hours. So she wasn't here at this point. I think they told they told me that the operation lasted 50 minutes. So I thought, well, that must be a good sign because usually it's like an hour and a half if they're struggling and stuff. So I thought, well, hopefully it's gone okay then. So it was just me being completely spaced out in recovery for the next few hours. When I eventually did start to come round a bit more, I still didn't have any pain. Obviously, I was aware that I had incisions, but I'd really freaked myself out watching videos of people saying they wake up with this horrendous gas pain that sits on their chest, and it feels like they're having a heart attack and it's the most painful thing ever. And I was really trying to mentally prepare for that, to be honest. But I didn't have any of that. I didn't have any gas on my chest at all. I just had the tiniest bit of soreness. Now, mind you, obviously they would have had me on some really high pain meds at that point. So, but the thing that I struggled with, and the thing that was my biggest problem coming out of recovery, was nausea. So I did have nausea, which was something I was dreading because I think I have a bit of a phobia of throwing up, to be honest. So when I started feeling nauseous, I was like, oh God, here we go. But they handled it really well. So I wasn't dry heaving or anything at that point. And it was a really weird sensation because I felt so detached. I was so drugged up and felt so detached from my body that I knew that I was nauseous, but it was kind of a really detached feeling. Um, I don't know. I can't explain it, and maybe when you go through surgery, you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. I get what she means now. So I told them I had nausea, and they brought some. The anaesthetist did say before surgery, if you're nauseous afterwards, let us know because we want to keep on top of that because we don't want you being sick. We don't want you dry heaving because that's going to upset your stomach. So we'll be on it. And they were true to their word because as soon as I told them I had nausea, they brought something that they put in my IV, and that didn't really do anything. So then later on, they brought me an injection that went straight into my arm, and that was the thing that made the big difference. So a little bit after that, maybe an hour or so after that, I didn't feel nauseous at all anymore. And touch wood, I haven't got any wood to touch near me, but I've not had any nausea since then. And it's been yesterday was my sort of week anniversary, sleeversary. So yeah, once they got the nausea under control, I felt really okay. Um, my wife came in later, and I remember her coming in, and apparently they told her, she's on oxygen, but that's completely normal. Don't freak out. And I do remember when I started to come round a little bit more from recovery, I had a mask on, and then a little bit later, they came and changed it to one of those ones instead of like a full Darth Vader mask. It was one of those ones that just go up your nostrils. They've got like two little prongs that go up your nostrils. And so also, what I was aware of when I was coming around from recovery is I had a blood pressure monitor going off constantly. Um, it would just go off by itself, and I don't know if they've got the ability to do sort of remote monitoring, but a lot of the time, no one was in the room with me, so they wouldn't have even known what it was anyway. So I had my IV in my hand, and I don't know if you can see, I got a tiny little bruise where that was. And I was hooked up I had my SpO2 finger monitor on this hand, and then on this side it was just the blood pressure cuff. So yeah, they were taking really good care of me. They got my nausea under control. And then I knew I wasn't being very good company for my wife because I just wasn't talking. She said it looked like I was just sat there staring out into space trying to negotiate with the world. So even though I felt okay, I wasn't there. um, so after I couldn't tell you how long she was there for, maybe a couple of hours. I do remember she was in the chair in the corner trying to nap, and one of the nurses said, "Get on that other bed if you want, and just have a little lay down for a minute if you're tired." So I remember her doing that, and I must have just zonked right back out again. And the drugs must have been good because I have sleep apnea and I can't usually sleep at all without my CPAP machine. But I was snoozing with the best of them. So I came around a little bit more later, and I told my wife that you may as well go home, to be honest, because back to the Airbnb because I'm no company, and you can go back and you can get yourself a nice bath and something to eat. So she went off probably about 4 o'clock or something like that, and ironically, it was after I sent her away that I really started to come round from the anaesthesia. So I could feel myself getting more with it. I had my phone out. I was able to message people, um, and that was the first time all day I'd felt like I could communicate properly. So I was just messaging everyone and saying that it had gone well and stuff. And the surgeon came and saw me later on that day, and he said, "Yeah, the procedure went really well. Um, Everything was good, uh, no complications at all." So that is massive to hear, because even though we're told the surgery is really safe, the statistics support that it's safe, it's still really scary that thinking that you've had a huge part of your stomach removed. It doesn't match up psychologically for me anyway, because I've not had any pain really. Um I've had little bits, I'll come into that in a minute, but I've not had the massive gas pain. I've not had terrible, terrible pain where I feel like I've been ripped apart. And yet I have been ripped apart. Um, part of my stomach has been cut and taken away. So it's just a bit mad to me what they can achieve now laparoscopically. I think the technology is just insane. So my nurses just kept coming in the rest of the day then doing my obs. And later on I realised, and hadn't realised up until this point, I had these two, what are they made out of? They were like plastic, I guess, socks that had been hooked up to a machine. So I don't know if you've seen if videos, if you've been doing research, that they put these socks on and they hook it up to a machine and they compress a bit like a blood pressure cuff would, and they basically are going on your legs to pump the blood whilst you're laying down and you can't move or anything, to stop you getting blood clots. So that must have been happening for a couple of hours in recovery, but I've got no memory of that whatsoever. I just know it happened because I found a sock later on. I also found a random ECG patch on me, and I know they did mention they were going to do an ECG whilst I was under, and I can't remember. They must have done it prior to surgery, and I was already under at that point. Um, so after that, they just bring you the. I stopped. I had an IV, obviously, that helped with the nausea, and then they flushed it and they popped it back onto normal IV fluids, because obviously you're not drinking very much that first day and they don't want you to get dehydrated. Um, and they would bring liquid. It was orange. I think it's liquid paracetamol because they sent me home with it. So they weren't they weren't hardcore drugs or anything that I was on at that point. It was just paracetamol, but I felt fine. And what happened then? They were giving me the liquid paracetamol, and then I really needed to pee at this point. And I didn't think I would be so desperate to pee because I hadn't been drinking anything and I'd been nil by mouth for so long. But of course, they're pumping loads of fluids into you, and those fluids need to go somewhere. And I kept saying, I needed to go to the bathroom, I need to go to the bathroom. And they said, we're going to come and unhook you soon. I just need to check something and then we're going to come and hook you. So by the time they came to unhook me, I was busting. Um, and they were like, take it slow, get out your bed slowly. I was thinking, I'm not going slow, I'm getting to the bathroom. So I just stood up and went after they'd unhooked me, and I did the longest wee you've ever had known in your life. It was ridiculous. And at that point, because they like you to be up and walking, they said, if you feel like you up for it, you can have a walk. I said, well, yeah, I may as well just go now then when I'm unhooked. So I put my slippers on. Oh, before this, a nurse had come in while I was peeing and said, if you want to get changed out of your gown and put your own underwear and your pajamas on, you can do that. And that, I felt brand new after that, taking those gowns off. And because there was a bit of blood on the bed and a bit of blood on the gowns that must have splurted out from me at some point. It didn't really bother me. Um, so I put my own pajamas on, and I put my big coat. I'd taken in this jacket that my sister got me for Christmas. It's not really a jacket, but it's like a big hoodie, but it's really fluffy and comfy. And then she bought me some Skechers cozy campfire slippers, which are the most comfy slippers ever. And I just had those on, and it's not a big hospital. So when they said we're going to go for a walk, I was expecting to be pacing up and down, going on to different floors and stuff. But it was the smallest little corridor, really. So I just went up and down that, and I wasn't really sure, because I felt fine. I was like, well, I feel okay. A lot of people walk to get the gas off their chest or wherever it's bothering them because they can feel it in their shoulders or their back. But I didn't have any of those issues. So I just walked up and down for what I thought was a socially acceptable amount of time. And then I went back to my room. And a bit later on, they'd already brought me water, and I had taken a few sips of it. And it was a weird sensation. It wasn't painful, but it was kind of uncomfortable. So there must have been gas in me. And when I was taking a sip of water, it kind of felt like it was going down into a pocket of where this gas was and like pushing the gas out and around. So there was a lot of gurgling and sound, and there was a lot of burping. But I was tolerating it while I was keeping it down, and I was able to get a fair amount in. So they brought a little cup, which was about this big, and I think the first day I finished a whole cup. And they also brought me, in the evening, they brought me some strawberry Slim Fast, and they'd like zhuzhed it up somehow, so it was all frothy and nice. And it was the same about that again in the glass. I've got a picture of it so I can put it up. And I finished I finished all but a small, maybe 1 inch of it that I didn't manage to finish. But I just sipped on it slowly, and I tried to take three little sips at a time, and then I would take a break, and then I would take three more little sips, and I would take a break. And I would get up and go to the toilet, and then I would get up and look out the window because I was nosy. And also my room. I didn't realise how close I was to the BT tower. I'll put a picture in here. So I was looking out the window, and then the BT tower was there, and there was a nice little garden outside. So I was just people watching out the window, really. And then nighttime came, and I did my teeth, um, and I was getting ready for bed. So I was putting all my CPAP equipment out and stuff. It was a right ball ache. And then every time I was getting up at this point, I had to unhook myself. I wasn't on IV at this point. They'd unhooked me from the IV. And they did say they were going to put me back on it later, but then they never actually put me back on it because I think I was doing well, and my blood pressure was really good. My pulse and my oxygen saturation was really good. So they were okay with me. And so my SB2 monitor kept going bananas whenever I got out of bed. And when I was in the loo, one of the nurses came in and basically turned all the machines off and said, "You're really good. You've got good colour. Your obs are really good. So this is just going to keep you awake all night. So we'll turn it off." Which, oh, it was such a good win because I thought, I don't want this beeping all night long. About half an hour before I went to sleep, maybe an hour, a doctor came in to take some bloods, um, and they basically run those bloods over. I think they're supposed to do it overnight, and so they can know if you can be discharged next day. But mine didn't come back in time. But he was happy with me anyway. So they did some bloods. They managed to get it out my cannula, so I didn't need to have any more pinpricks, which was good. And after that, I went to sleep. I did ask the nurse, "Are you going to come in and check on me at any point?" And she said, "We'll just come in at 2 o'clock and check on you, and that'll be it." But so I went to sleep, and I slept pretty well for the first half of the night. They didn't come in at 2 to check on me, I think, because I was fine. They were just letting me sleep. And then it got to about 3 in the morning, and I could just hear people. There had been loads of people outside. I don't know if someone was having a party or something, but I could just hear loads of talking, and I'm a really light sleeper, so I just couldn't at this point. And then there were some really randy foxes in the park, and the sound foxes make, they sound like babies squealing. So I couldn't sleep through that anyway. So between about 3 and 5:30, I was just sort of laying there scrolling on my phone. And then at 5:30, the nurse came in to do my obs and check everything, and everything looked good. And I asked her, is anyone else awake? Can I put the TV on? So she said that was fine. But she did say there were 5 patients there that night that we'd all had the surgery, and I hadn't had any pain meds the whole night. I just hadn't needed them. I hadn't had any pain. So I thought there's no point asking for them. But she said that everyone else had been asking for pain meds. So she said I tolerated it really good. And I definitely felt good. I could move around fine. I could bend down and stuff as long as I was slow. It was okay. And then it was just a couple of hours then until my wife came to pick me up because I was being discharged at 9. So the surgeon came in again the next morning just to confirm everything was good, and I'd be going home that day, and that was looking good. So that was great to hear. And then, yeah, they brought me, at some point, they brought me all the meds that I needed. And and the night before, but this was still when I was a bit out of it, so I forgot about it for a second. The night before, they brought me the blood thinning injections and taught me how to do it myself so I could do it at home. So in the about 5:30 in the morning when the nurse came in, she brings a big bag of meds in with her and she's explaining what they're all for. So I've got like a stomach protector, which is lansoprazole or something, um, to take that in the morning on an empty stomach, do your injection in the morning, and then you've got to do your other injection exactly 12 hours after that, and then just try and get in. If you need pain meds, they did discharge me with liquid paracetamol and liquid ibuprofen, and I had a little bit of it on the first day or so, but I haven't needed it since. And those are all the meds I'm on at the minute. That will change. I'll have to start my vitamins soon, but I don't need to worry about that yet. And then I got discharged, and I spent the whole of the next day just chilling. I got home that Thursday morning, and I went to sleep until about 2 in the afternoon. And then when I woke up, I was just trying to get in some broth and stuff, but nothing. I didn't like the taste of it. And then my wife went to the supermarket and got me some soup, and I loved that particular soup, so I was eating some soup. And that's it for the surgery. So basically, to summarize, I didn't have a lot of pain at all. I didn't have any of the gas pain people talk about, and wasn't sick, and I was able to keep down and get a decent amount of water in. So I have to say I just feel super lucky. I feel really fortunate. But I did see another lady the next day being discharged, and she looked pretty good as well. And a lot of the people I've been seeing on the Tonic website who have had their operations recently say the same, that they've not had a lot of pain. So bear in mind that if you see these spooky, scary videos that say it was the worst pain they've ever had, worse than a C-section, the worst gas pain, they feel like they're going to die. Yes, that's the case for some people, but a lot of people don't have that at all, and you might be one of those people. If you have any questions about the surgery day, let me know. I As I say, there was definitely a period of time where I was in pure blackout mode. But yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions down below. And one thing that I quickly want to touch on before I go is my weight progress. So I hadn't up until this point shared my weight. I'm going to share my weight now. So I'm a little bit nervous to put this online because I've got some friends and stuff that watch, but I have to do it. It's part of the journey. So when I started my pre-op diet, I was 291.2 pounds. That's not my heaviest weight. I think my heaviest weight was just over 303 pounds. Oh, it feels like confession time. So yeah, 291.2 when I started my pre-op diet. I did 3 weeks of pre-op diet, and it's now been a week past surgery. I weighed today, and I weighed 263 point something. Oh, my phone's too far away. But basically, I've lost just over 27 pounds in that time. So I'm really happy with that progress. And some people are starting to say they can see it in my face a little bit. My face isn't quite as bloated, and I've been trying some dresses on that I've not been able to fit into in a long time, and they've been fitting and feeling good. So yeah, I'm gonna do another video over, probably put that out on Sunday, about my week 1 post-op, because it's not been an easy week for various reasons that I'll get into. And I just want to be honest about that, because I've sat in this video and talked about how basically surgery was fine and I didn't have any pain. And I don't want to paint it all as rosy picture when that's not the case. So I'll be putting a video up soon about week 1. So yeah, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care for now.